The following program is the work of the broadcast students at the British Columbia Institute of Technology. BCIT magazine features news stories from around the Lower Mainland, which were produced over the last week. Responsibility for the content of the show rests completely with the students and their instructors.
Coming up on BCIT Magazine, commuters can look forward to a new bridge.
ICBC is giving drivers a break.
And BCIT tackles love, gender, and sexuality.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Hanna Lalonde.
And I'm McGrath. LNG protesters closed down roads and ports all over BC this week. Our reporter Anmol Ajla walks us through the timeline.
Stand down! Trudeau! Stand down! RCMP! Stand down!
Hundreds of people gathered outside Vancouver City Hall in support of the Wet'suwet'en hereditary chiefs who oppose the LNG pipeline in Houston, BC. Speakers shared their frustration with the BC government.
We need healing for all of us, and that starts by protecting places like the Yinta. So keep doing everything that you can. Shut down the ports, shut down the railway lines, hit them in their dollar book, and prepared for how they push back at us. High alert time now.
But Premier Horgan states that the shutdown of previous protests are out of his hands.
Governments do not direct the courts, nor do we direct the RCMP. An injunction was sought by the company, it was granted by the courts, and the RCMP are enforcing that injunction.
Both Vancouver and Delta's ports were shut down by protesters for days in an effort to get the government's attention.
Horgan has to get off his high colonial horse. He has to get down and stand up for our people in BC.
I respect everyone's right to lawful protest, but when you're interfering with the operation of the economy at the ports and through the city here in the Lower Mainland, I think that becomes a challenge, and that's why injunctions were granted this weekend.
Despite court injunctions, protesters say they're not backing down. Anmol Ajla in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
Anmol joins us now. Anmol, how has the traffic been with all of the protests in Vancouver?
All ports are now accessible since the company did receive an injunction to clear off the protesters. However, there have been multiple pop-up protests in Vancouver, so you can expect a delay at busy intersections.
Now, what's happening to the protesters once the RCMP arrive on site?
Now, many protesters have been escorted off the premises, and there have been over 60 arrests, but protesters say that they're not going to stop until their demands are met. Back to you.
Thanks, Anmol. Drivers in New Westminster and Surrey can expect an easier commute with the replacement of the 83-year-old Patullo Bridge. My co-anchor Luke McGrath has the story.
Safer, easier, toll-free commutes is what our government is dedicated to.
Say goodbye. The 1937 built Patullo Bridge is officially being replaced. A project that New Westminster Mayor Jonathan Cote says is essential.
I think the Patullo Bridge we've been talking about for decades, and is the existing bridge is currently reached the end of its lifespans.
Construction on the new bridge is expected to create jobs for hundreds of skilled workers in BC.
Community benefits agreements make sure that local workers, Indigenous people, women, and other groups that are not always considered for construction jobs are there to get the training they need on publicly funded projects.
One of those workers is 27-year-old Kayla Natrell.
I got in trades to be a part of the generational shift. With so many advantages to a trade career, it should be considered a more viable option in the professional world.
The nearly $1.4 billion project will have wider lanes and better connections into Surrey and New Westminster, as well as dedicated cycling and pedestrian lanes.
I think the bridge, everybody knows, is a critical piece of infrastructure for the Lower Mainland and for our provincial trade network.
Construction on this bridge will start in the coming months and is expected to be completed by fall 2023. Luke McGrath in New Westminster for BCIT Magazine. The death count from the coronavirus, now called COVID-19, continues to rise. Over 1,000 people have died, and now over 43,000 people have been diagnosed. 7 cases have been confirmed in Canada, 4 of which are in BC.
There are also 8 Canadians who have confirmed cases of COVID-19. They are quarantined on a cruise ship at dock in Japan.
Coming up after the break, love is in the air.
And the Vancouver Olympics turned 10 years old.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Welcome to Community Calendar. I'm Kenneth Pittman.
And I'm Michelle DeLeon.
Tis the season for love here in the Lower Mainland. We have some great events for you, so let's fall right into it.
Want to learn about animal reproduction?
I mean, who wouldn't?
Well, at the Vancouver Aquarium, you can learn about the sex lives of aquatic animals during their Valentine's Day after hours.
Not everyone's in a relationship during Valentine's Day, and getting out there to meet new people can often be intimidating. Well, we have a solution for that. At Queer Speed Dating, it's an inclusive event that promotes fun, friendship, and most importantly, connections.
Science World is hosting a free event for teens to stir up some competition and make liquid nitrogen ice cream, as well as carry out experiments using all types of sciences.
Oh, to be young and in love.
Come on, Kenneth, you're not that old.
Oh, thanks, Michelle.
Well, that was your community calendar for this week. I'm Michelle DeLeon.
And I'm Kenneth Pittman. Thanks for watching.
Welcome back to BCIT Magazine. Drivers are hoping to get a break from ICBC's premium rates with the upcoming policy change. Marwa Elgabri has the story.
For thousands of BC drivers, ICBC is bringing new rules to town. It says the changes will decrease monthly rates and increase care coverage.
The province of British Columbia and ICBC will be moving to an enhanced care coverage model. And what that means is in May of 2021, people's insurance premiums will go down by about 20% or $400 on average.
There will also be an increase of up to $7.5 million of care and recovery benefits and a 60% increase in wage loss benefits. But where is the money coming from?
Historically, 1 out of every $4 that British Columbians spent on insurance went to legal costs. Those changes that we've made in the past year have reduced that, but still going forward, it's about $700 million annually just spent on legal costs.
But a local lawyer and avid cyclist disagrees. He says victims will lose their option to go to court.
There will be funding available, but it's controlled by an insurance company, not by yourself. So you're always going to be beholden to them.
But going to court hasn't always worked for victims. Disability Alliance BC says the current litigation-based system created bottlenecks for injured victims.
Sometimes people were waiting years, to get settlements, and the problem with that is that if people are having to spend a lot of time and money on paperwork and legal fees, they're not able to focus on their recovery.
Lowe says she's excited and hopeful that they'll be able to access benefits with increased coverage, but says the key will be a streamlined system.
Do they need to have a doctor's note? Do they need to have, a social worker's note? So there's a lot of other pieces of this puzzle, I would say.
The province will introduce legislation this spring, and if passed, BC residents will see the changes come into effect May 1st, 2021. I'm Marwa Elgabri in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
Our reporter Marwa Elgabri joins us now. Marwa, has this type of care-based model been successful in other places before?
Well, Hanna, Manitoba and Saskatchewan have had success with similar systems. They have lower insurance rates, which ICBC says it's largely due to them having this care-based model in place.
And Marwa, if the legal work is taken out of the system, what can users do if they feel they didn't receive fair compensation?
The province is actually putting forward legislation to make it mandatory by law that ICBC assists and advises people about all of their options. Back to you.
Thanks, Marwa. The Academy Awards were handed out this week. The South Korean film Parasite was the big winner, taking home 4 Oscars, including Best Picture. The international film was the first to ever receive that honor.
Can you believe that this year marks the 10-year anniversary of the 2010 Winter Olympics in Vancouver? From Alexandra Bilodeau's historic gold medal to Sidney Crosby lifting a nation with his golden goal, the games were filled with some memorable moments. We took to the streets to hear other people's favorite memories.
Bought tickets to Cyprus to see the freestyle skiing. And so it's hard to tell on TV how high these skiers are actually flying, but in person you really appreciate that they are really putting their lives at risk.
Went downtown during the Olympics, and I got this beaver toque with like a tail coming out of the back, and I was 8 and I thought it was the cutest thing ever.
I just remember Sidney Crosby's goal.
When the 2010 Olympics came out, I bought all the stuffed animals.
Alexandra Bilodeau winning the first gold medal for Canada.
Additionally, I also really enjoyed all the different international little hubs that they had around campus. I remember seeing a lot of Dutch people and other international people that I was able to chit-chat with, so that's a lot of fun.
Valentine's Day is capitalizing on commercialized romance. BCIT Student Association is bringing awareness to the spectrum of love, gender, and sexuality. My co-anchor Hanna Lalonde has the story.
It's the season for love, commercially anyways. But this week on BCIT's Burnaby campus, students are getting chocolates with their condoms.
They've given us all these resources. Free condoms, where we have both external and internal condoms, lube, chocolates, things like that. So that's what's really exciting about this week. It's the first time we're doing it.
At this time of year, you might just find muscular men made of chocolate or Barbie-themed Valentines. But what about those folks who don't fit into a box?
And within the Sex Plus campaign, we want to talk about sex plus consent, plus healthy relationships, plus healthy masculinities, plus asexuality, plus gender and sexuality, and what does that mean, plus safe sex.
That's why BCIT is holding its very first Sex Plus Week, focusing on consent, identity, and self-love. BCIT students say that identity and gender roles are multifaceted.
I think identity is what defines you as a person.
It's how you see yourself in the world.
This Valentine's Day, students have the opportunity to learn all about all kinds of love.
So there's so many different areas that involve sex, and I think it's so important to safely be able to talk about them.
You can buy a gift for anyone you love, and maybe that's yourself. Hanna Lalonde in Burnaby for BCIT Magazine. If you have any questions regarding the show, you can contact us at bcit-broadcast.com or bcitnews.com.
That was this week's BCIT Magazine. I'm Luke McGrath.
And I'm Hanna Lalonde. Thanks for watching. We leave you now with a look at the Patullo Bridge.